Next up, moving on to the NCAA, and we start with Charlie Stramel. We touched on him a little bit earlier. The points aren't there, obviously. And like I've talked about this too with a couple other, I think with Giraffe guy, it was Bronseg Nigord. I talked about like the worst puck luck I've ever seen a hockey player have. Like Stramel, I think, has hit like 7 posts this year too. And again, the points aren't there, but he has played very well. And obviously Wisconsin's doing very well. So like when you come in as a high profile prospect, expected to score, obviously the first year did not go well. They're a completely different team this year. And he's kind of just had to like change his role to be like ultra defensive oriented center. Again, he defends very well. We're going to want to see the points take a jump here. But like I looked at his underlying numbers for like at 5v5, and I mean when he's on the ice, like I think shots are like 85% in Wisconsin's favor. The expected goals are like 70 something percent. Like generally speaking, only good things happen for Wisconsin when he is on the ice. Doesn't change the fact that we really want to see a big time hike in like just production offensively, because like it's always great to have a guy like that in the NHL, like in your lineup that you can rely on as just a reliable center, good on the face-off dot. He's not even really playing that much center now at this point, though. It's always good that, like, for a playoff team, especially, like, having that reliable forward that you can give, like, those hard minutes to. At the same time, there are a ton of those guys in the NHL, too, right? So, like, as he progresses here, you're going to want to see a big-time jump in the numbers offensively. Hopefully, puck luck will help him out a little bit, just because it's been so brutal for him. But he did. It wasn't this past week. I think it was 2 weekends ago against Notre Dame. He did score the game winner, and it was a phenomenal knee drop one timer from the slot. So he does have it in his bag. We just want to see it a little bit more. He's got to be fighting some fucking like just overall confidence. Like,
yeah.
Given the fact that like freshman year did not go well, gets cut from the World Juniors team. Sophomore year, the team's great. His production hasn't really jumped at all, but again, he's playing well. It's just,
but okay.
We'll see.
Counter argument. He's currently 19 years old. Coming back for his junior season, he will be in his 20s for the first time under Coach Hastings. Next year is his year. Yeah. Next year is the year that every Wild fan is like, oh wait, that's the guy we've been ripping on.
Yeah. Oh, Hastings like, are looking like, oh,
cool, but I'm okay with Charlie Stramel.
Yeah, once Hastings like, 1 year close to that AARP card, buddy. That's 4 minutes a night plus on top of what we got you doing so far. So, you know,
he's got the Sharpie written on like beard and facial hair.
Yeah, exactly. So again, like pretty similar spot where we've been with Stramel past 2 years. Well, more so this year, just because the team's actually fucking really good this year. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, at the end of the day, his best games have come against like some of the best teams in the country, which is always a positive. Like he generally does show up and is at his best and on his best behavior against those teams. So you can't give up on a fucking 19-year-old kid. We could all shit on the draft pick. I think universally everyone was like, there are other players there we would have taken, higher ceiling guys, but
in fairness, though, I still think everyone else, this will make them feel better. When you and I went through our final projections, right? Your kind of dry run mock draft before any trades were made for the first round, I think you had Stramel going 29, which I'm sorry, like that's not a far cry from what was it, 22?
Yeah, something like that.
Like that's not crazy. It's not like this is like a second or third round pick that Judd reached for. Like this is still a first round talent. It's easy to look at the shiny toy and Gabe Perreault, but again, I don't know, Lloyd, the French are assholes. Like, let's stick with our guy.
Stick with him. That's right. And again, not to bring this up again, but the first ever like time we ever talked about Charlie Stramel, I did say at this time his stock was like 10 to 15 probably. I was like, I bet you if he's available when the Wild are picking, that's a guy that they will look at heavily. Like, oh, big center. He has decent like offensive projection, but is mean. He is big and he plays center. I bet they would love that. So there you go. I'm not going to toot my own horn again, but someone's got to do it. So the next two guys played against each other this past weekend. Woo. Jack Peart, Rieger Llerens, St. Cloud versus Denver this weekend. First game was Rieger Llerens' day. They kicked the shit out of St. Cloud in game one. Lorenz found himself on the score sheet once again. Another shorthanded goal for him, and it was an absolute beauty with someone all over him, backhand, forehand, shelf. Peart was just okay that game. Again, much of the same from him in game one. Game two, technically a tie. St. Cloud wins in the shootout. Peart finally gets back on the score sheet again, gets an assist in that one, 2 more blocks. But just to focus on Jack Peart first. Just a fucking weird year. I think I heard Russo talking about it. They think they'll probably sign him after this year. I would say that's probably the right move at this point, to be honest with you. Like,
I mean, is that mostly because it doesn't seem like he's taken another step this year? They need to do something else for his development, or is it because they're afraid of losing his rights?
I mean, I think it's a combination of both, more so the latter probably, just because like at this point too, like St. Cloud is just a very interesting.
They've looked a lot better since their dog shit start. Like they've come around.
That's the start.
I think they're like 13 right now, aren't they?
Yeah, their record
like good for them.
Yeah, I think they won like 7 straight after like that fucking horrible. They were terrible to watch. And here's the thing too, like a kid like Jack Peart with how he plays, if the team is not going, he is going. It's not going to be fun to watch. He's not throwing those like ridiculous 100-foot stretch passes. He's not skating himself out of the zone. Like it's not going to look good because they never had the puck. But I think, again, like I would like to see a massive jump in production because that's taken a big hit this year. Defensively, he's been pretty good. He's not taking those fucking penalties that drove me nuts his freshman year where he's just like tripping anyone that would somehow get by him every fucking time. I think this year he's just been like leaned on way more defensively than anything else. Like he's not necessarily on, getting as much power play time. Like he's on the penalty kill way more than I've ever seen him before. Which again, it's not something that we would necessarily like say is one of the things that got him drafted in the second round. But I mean, he still shows those flashes when he does get the puck, like in transition. He's one of the better defensemen in this prospect pool and in really like in college hockey. Like he does not turn that puck over. Generally speaking, he's going to start that transition every single time. And that's where like a lot of his offensive value comes from. So that hasn't necessarily changed. I think his role's changed a little bit, and it doesn't surprise me that, we heard Russo talking about how they're probably planning on signing him after this year. No reason really for him to go back his senior year either. Unless they like just miss out on national championship he really wants to, which I just don't see that in the cards. So I think overall it probably makes sense for them to not risk losing him and getting like a 4th or 5th round pick. So again, nice to see him get on the score sheet in game 2. So 1 assist in those 2 games. He did, again, he's like blocking shots like a motherfucker now. I think like 4 or 5 blocks. So 20 games this year, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. Again, want to see a major jump there. It's +4, 10 penalty minutes, and like 30 block shots so far. So just want to see more offensively from him because he does have that in his arsenal. Moving on the other side of the ice, Rieger Llerens continues his unbelievably strong bounce back year. So many times last year he was either getting scratched or like thrown on the 4th line, right or left wing, like getting 7-8 minutes a night. He's now firmly on that 2nd line, oftentimes appearing on the 1st line, 1st power play unit. And again, they're using him on the penalty kill, and he's actually scoring shorthanded goals. And every time we talk about it, we have to mention like just the confidence jump. It's like he's a completely different hockey player this year. A lot of that just comes from being given more opportunities, obviously. But like even like last year, if he did get power power play time, he was clearly getting it, not looking like he wanted to do anything with the puck. It was just like getting rid of it, throwing it back to the point. Now he's getting it, surveying, looking at what options he has, and he's trying different things that he has in his tool set. So, again, it's just so nice to see the jump in production, because like another prospect that they drafted that people who actually watched the league that he was playing in, AJHL, like everyone that watched him said like, this kid is an absolute force offensively. He's big. The shot is an absolute weapon. He's also capable of making plays. And generally speaking, when he's engaged and he's on, he can play a decent enough two-way game to get away with, again, putting him on the penalty kill. But like the thing that speaks to how different of a hockey player is just the different roles that he's being utilized in. So it's just nice seeing him playing like 18 minutes a night, 19 minutes a night, power play, penalty kill, all situations. He could have they played North Dakota 2 or 3 weeks ago. First 10 minutes of the game, I think he hit one post, fed someone backdoor that they missed, obviously, of course. But he was all over the ice, just creating scoring chances left and right. And again, another goal this week, Shorty, to go along with 4 shots on net. So he's up to 8 goals, 8 assists, 16 points, plus 12, 42 shots on net, and 8 block shots in 22 games. So just another great weekend for Rieger Lorentz. Love to see it.
Not mad about it.
Look, he is so good. I freaking love watching him play. When
they are so good too. Like that is a team.
They are a problem. Zeev Bouillon, by the way, comes back from World Juniors, immediately lights up the score sheet again. He's fucking unbelievable.
But that I don't know. Maybe you feel differently, and maybe I'm not plugged in enough, like nationally. But I feel like there's been no love for Denver this year. They've consistently been a top 5 team, but they've never been looked at as the team. So they've kind of like, in a weird way, gone under the radar, even though they've been fucking sick.
Yeah, I think they were number 1 or 2 for one weekend. I think it might have been the BC weekend. I can't remember, but like they lost even one of the games.
No one said anything about them. Like it was kind of like a non-event.
Yeah, I think a lot of the commentary has just been like, "Yep, more of the same from Denver. Moving on, nothing to see here. They're just fucking unbelievable." But like up and down that lineup, like they've got guys on their 4th line that like juniors are scoring 45 goals a season. But that's why what's his name is coaching the World Juniors team. Like he just gets guys to play how they need to play wherever they are in the lineup. And like if one guy has an off weekend, usually they're responding the next weekend in those games with some kind of like phenomenal game, whether it's like producing or block, just like every guy fills a role. So Denver is an absolute fucking problem. I'll be very curious to see what their odds are. Just given, like you said, that there hasn't been a whole lot of talk other than like, yep, they're still nasty. They're just doing what they always do. I'll be very curious to see what those odds are entering the Frozen Four.
It will be interesting. And who knows, maybe you'll actually get a flight and come out here for it.
Could be. Wild card, bitches.
Remains to be seen.
Yep. Let's see. All right. Minnesota Golden Gophers, Jimmy Clark. Another guy, more of the same, where the stats don't jump off the page, but if you actually just are watching the games, he is pretty much on the ice on any high pressure moment. Anytime like they're not playing well, they throw him over the boards, and he's going to make whatever play you need him to make.
But let's stop though. Like without even going into deeper context, he has done everything I want to see from him. Like he's been a very consistent freshman. Then you add in the fact that he was a last minute call in, like, oh shit, Logan Cooley decided he wanted to wear the Kachina, and we kind of need to fill a spot. How do you feel about that? And he's come in and he is beyond delivered. He hasn't done anything that jumps off the page, like you said, but it's a guy that keeps on doing what they need. He has played on all 4 lines. He has given exactly what he needs to. He never like stands out as this like glaring mistake that happens. Just sits there, plays solid, consistent hockey, and every once in a while he pops off and you see that skill that you saw when he was playing in the state tourney where it's like, oh shit, in a year or two, This guy's going to be a problem for college hockey.
Yeah, and if you watch the games too, like it's been obviously a very different year for Minnesota, but whenever they get in a pinch where they're like either maybe they're up 1 goal, a couple minutes left, and they're just getting hemmed in, you know, the goalie freezes the puck, D-zone face-off, first guy over the boards is Jimmy Clark. I mean, I think he's at like 70% of the face-off dot this year, and more often than not, when they need him to like just win a face-off, establish possession, he's going to do it. So like, that's what he's kind of just been for Minnesota, where it's like, we're really in a pinch. We need someone to do a job right now and make a play right now. Jimmy Clark over the boards. And like you said, he uprooted, like he was fully planning on going playing in the USHL again this year. And like last minute, like, hey man, you want to come figure out like classes, dorm, like, you know, Ruben board, all that shit. You want to come play for us? By the way, preseason starts in like 4 weeks. Like, yeah, sure. No problem. And just kind of immediately took to college hockey and more than fits any. I mean, he plays like 14, 15, 60 minutes a night, even when nights when he's on like the fourth line, doesn't matter. Like they're going to use him more often than not, just because he is such an important player for them. So I've just, like you said, I've just been so impressed with how he's adapted to college hockey. And so much of what he does, and like the reason that he's leaned on so heavily is just like attention to detail, and like in those big moments, he's going to make the right play. And like you said, eventually there are times where he jumps over the boards and he does score that who was that OT winner against? Oh God. Was that the Michigan game? Oh, I can't remember. It's going to drive me nuts. But he scored a ridiculous OT winner.
I know which goal you're talking about. I can't think of the team.
I feel like it was Michigan, but I can't remember.
I feel like it wasn't, but now I don't know.
Oh, Michigan State.
That sounds
Michigan State 6-5 OT winner. I think that was the one.
More accurate.
But after a night where I think he played like 22 minutes a night, where he was like pretty much only being utilized in the defensive zone up against other teams' top lines, or up against Michigan State's top line, and then he gets thrown over the boards at OT for a shift. Unbelievable goal. Waits out the goalie, goes shelf. Like, so obviously, I said it at the like. When they got him in the 7th round, I was beyond thrilled. And again, just unbelievably impressive that he kind of just stepped into college hockey and like was like, oh, I'm not the guy that we're gonna lean on for scoring. Okay, I'll do literally everything else and make everyone else's job a whole lot easier. So good for him. Let me just pull up his stat line again because my Google Doc is freezing. 22 games this year, 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points, 37 shots on net. He's a +5, 9 blocks. He's only taken 1 penalty, which is impressive. And again, I think he's clicking right around 65-70% the faceoff dot. So good for him. Sky's the limit for him in college hockey. I think as the next few years here go on, he may be quite the college hockey player.
Love that. And
all right,
that was a 7th round pick. Whoops.
7th rounder. Whoops.
Sorry, Judd.
Keep the change. Thank you.
All right. Scallop risotto. Thank you.
On what a dish, by the way.
Hang on. No. Every like banger Judd pick that gets made, we give it the scallop risotto stamp of approval.
Get that on Uber Eats. Let me get that fucking shit from Cape Cod, fucking driven all the way over to Boston. Yeah.
If they'll fly that shit out here, I will order it weekly. It was so good. All right, Judd, we need to expand. We need to have a location in the Twin Cities. We will partner with you on it. Details to come. Let's make it happen. We'll discuss it as soon as you jump on the podcast with us.
That's right, baby. We'll go through every single pick. We'll do an hour on each individual pick since he showed up. It will. He'll hate it. He'll hate it. I'll love it.
We're gonna host every draft at that location that gets established here too.
At my apartment. All right, let's go live to Judd Brackett. Yeah, fucking
looks like a guy in a hostage video.
Like, yes. Help. All right, moving on. He'll never come on now. All right. Now. UMD Bulldogs, Aaron Pionk. Very weird season for UMD. They started off pretty well, and Pionk was all over the score sheet there. Then they lost about 800 games in a row. Pretty much the production for every player on that team took a massive dive. Now they're playing decent. They're playing like 500 hockey. They played Colorado College, who's like a pain in the ass to play against. Every game that I watch of theirs, like they have a brutal schedule. First of all, like they're always going up against like top 50 teams, and they are just, again, the biggest pain in the ass. Where like you're not going to blow them out. They're going to be right in the game. They're physical. It's just like a slog of a game. And that was again the case this week with UMD. They're probably pretty similar in terms of just like overall talent pool, but game
how
1, 3
they to have lost Isaac Howard.
Yeah, that's gotta be just, you can't
that one
lose
stings to touch.
Yeah,
especially that sick hat that he made. Oh my god.
Yeah, God, what a he is unbelievable.
But yeah, that was an impressive performance.
Yeah, big time. Game 1, 3-2 win. Game 2, 3-2 loss. So there you go. That's like the epitome of like how Colorado College has done this year. I mean, like UMD obviously isn't a top team, but
they gave the Gophers a run.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. I feel like there's been a whole lot of games UMD too, where like a bunch of those games against like the top 20 teams, it's been like back and forth, and eventually third period, it's just like
I was saying Colorado College.
Well, there you go. They were both same thing, two different teams, I guess. Let me just pull up that stat sheet again. Nothing crazy. The thing with the 3-2 game, the Sunday game, was quite like just a back and forth high event. I'm sorry, the first game on Saturday. Whenever they play Saturday, Sunday, it always fucking throws me off instead of Friday, Saturday. The first game
playing on a Monday last week, so that threw me for a whole loop.
I hated that a whole lot. It really,
especially when there was like 5 other games on at the same time. I think it was like Pitt, Philly, Minnesota, Dallas, and the national championship game. I'm like, the fuck?
What am I supposed to do? But the first game, there we go. I got that one right this time. Very back and forth affair. The goaltending on both sides very good, but Pionk didn't find the score sheet this weekend, but was just rifling shots on the point. Game 2, he probably missed. I think he probably had like 12 or 13 shot attempts and just did not sniff the net. First game, he put up 5 and on net. But he is just like the classic was a forward, switched to D, and found out that he was very good as a defenseman. And that's just like every time he plays, like, yep, that makes a whole lot of sense. Like, I think he's 4th on that team in points right now. And again, another guy like UMD is just kind of not UMD of old, where like they're a top whatever team, just like pain in the ass play against, and like more often than not going to eke out a victory against some of the best teams in the country. But they're still like, they still have a few players there. Quinn Olson, Bruins prospect, I think he's like 75 years old. I have no idea how he's still eligible to play college hockey. It's fucking unbelievable. He's like Johnny Walker, Arizona State, who's now in the ECHL. Apparently he's just like a goon now, fun fact. He has like 140 penalty minutes. But again, a lot of the same stuff from Pionk, where it's just like very involved offensively. Defensively, he's a decent enough against, like, he's a good rush defender where he can kill plays, runs into trouble once there's like extended possession, like can get lost a little bit. And that's like, oh yeah, okay, this kid was a forward. But but like enough there that you can work with that. Like, again, like in terms of skating, hockey, like you could work with a player like that. So he's another intriguing one. Son of Neil Pionk of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yes. Do you worry though with a guy like him, like making the late change in position and being a little bit more of a raw talent? Do you think that the Wild are going to pull him too early to keep his rights, or are they going to risk him going to free agency and hope he'll stay, like let him play out the 4 years, or what's that look like?
No, I think you can let that play out. I mean, I have to do this every fucking time I compare prospects, but like Mason Lowry with the Bruins, he was a forward up until like his junior year of high school. So like, and then decided to go be a defenseman at Ohio State, was one of the best defensemen in the country. Now he's playing in the NHL. They were very patient with him, and they let him play
in the country.
Well, he's also not playing for Ohio State. So Ohio State, like he hit college when they started being a top 15 team. Like UMD is just in it's a different situation. I'm saying like similar in terms of like the positional stuff.
Right.
And again, I think there's enough tools there that like
All right.
You're also not banking on him. You're not like, we need him to hit, like, so if they have time to let him marinate, I think.
No, right. But again,
I know what you mean, though.
I'm just always on edge with college kids. Like, do you worry about him going where he wants?
No, if you wait too long. Really.
Okay. Do you think they should go away from that? Or do you like that rule? Like, not from, like, obviously it's great for the players. I'm saying more like from the league perspective. The NCAA is the only situation where a player can literally just play it out and then go to whatever team they want. It seems weird to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be weird if the league came in and was like, we're going to take away some power now. Because, like, the players are already at, like, I think it'd be, I'm fine with it, I think, is where I guess that's what that means. I'm fine with it.
Why can't you in any other developmental league play long enough that your rights are no longer held? I don't know.
Well, you can. It's just it
doesn't happen though. College, it makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. Like, well, you see it plenty of times. I mean, like, we can stick with Minnesota, like Andrei Svetlikov. Eventually, they traded him to Boston, which was like a nothing trade.
Right. I guess the reason I care
Guskov's the same thing. They will not sign him.
Right. But I care more from the angle of, like, there are a lot of scenarios where a player should play all 4 years of college for their development and to get a degree, like all of the basic reasons. And these NHL teams are going to kind of bully them into signing because they don't want to lose out on their rights. And I don't like that from a lot of angles.
Yeah. When you phrase like that, I know. I see what you're saying.
Like,
it is a weird.
It is a very. Say, like, through the end of their college year, you still hold their rights, kind of thing. I know that's giving them longer retention on rights, but it's just like, I don't know. It almost deters drafting a college player in some senses. Like, It's obvious when you're at the top of the draft and you're like, yeah, they're going to play freshman year and they're going to come. Cool. It's those other guys, the guys that are going like late first, second, third, fourth. Those are the guys that, like, I'd love to see Charlie Stramel play at least 3, if not 4 years of college, then make the jump to pro, because there's clearly things he can still work out in college hockey. That's just like one immediate example. It's just, I personally don't like the rule. I love it for the players. Like, great, they get an extra, like, arrow in the quiver, but I don't know. It seems weird that they're unique in that sense of being able to capitalize on that. And you see players taking teams hostage, like a Fox, like a VC, like, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I do think when I would say, like, it's still, like, when it does happen, like with a higher profile player, like, it becomes big news. Obviously, I still think there's like less of that going on than like teams actually letting guys play it out or whatever. So I don't know. It's interesting. But the practicality of, like, what would be just changing the amount of time on, like, the right stuff for college guys. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. And to wrap on that, Aaron Pionk, 21 games, 1 goal, 10 assists, 11 points, 55 shots on net. Still a +4, which is actually impressive with some of the they have got the absolute shit kicked out of him a few times. So the fact that he's still a plus player, and I think they're like a couple of games under 500, that's quite impressive. So a whole lot of room to grow there. Plenty of runway, a lot of tools. We love that. So we can move on. One of the more intriguing guys in an organization with such a deep prospect pool in general, but also the back end, Ryan Healey at Harvard. Harvard is horrible. This is the worst they've been in a very long time, because pretty much every top player at every position signed and left. Big one there being Coronado. They did win on Saturday, which gave them their second win of the year. That being said, Ryan Healey is playing probably 7 or 8 more minutes a night than he was last year. and he is taking that responsibility and running with it. He is, I believe now he's second on the team in points, but 2 games this weekend, scored in both, power play weapon, also add an assist in their 5-3 loss against Brown. With all of these minutes that he's now playing, like he is literally on the ice like 30 minutes a night at this point. Whole lot of dashes that comes with that. And a whole lot of Harvard scoring comes on the power play, which is obviously where he's going to get the majority of his points. So the plus minus is not looking amazing, but that tends to be what happens when you are a top minute getter on a not good hockey team. I think they're like 2-10-2 at this point. But just got named ECAC defenseman of the week. Again, I think he's only failed to find the score sheet in like 3 or 4 of these games, but he is phenomenal to watch. Like I said this before, I don't think I've ever seen him dump a puck in. Like if he has it, he is going to look to make a play. He is unbelievable at walking the blue line, creating lanes. He's got a great shot. So he is like another kid that's got a whole lot of tools and just another one that fits that profile of like elite skating, very creative, incredible in transition defenseman that like, I think this year you looked at the draft, like they targeted big centers. Since Judd'z stepped in, pretty much every defenseman, the first thing that jumps out is like, oh, they are an unbelievable skater. And that's where a lot of Healey's defensive prowess comes into. Another guy that like is very good at just killing plays and starting to transition the other way. So I think, you know, you look at his like point total, very impressive. I think he's already pretty close to his point total all of last year, just given the fact that he was oftentimes playing on the third pair last year, didn't get a whole lot of power play time. This year, he's like number 1 defenseman, number 1 PK, number 1 power play, number 1 just overall defenseman. In like he is always on the ice. It's on. If I'm half watching Harvard and I look away, every time I'm watching, like he is on the ice and he usually has the puck. So, very, very fun player to watch, dude. Like electric, and again wants to make a play every single time he has the puck. So big time jump in points given the elevated like opportunity and just role in general. So he is their go-to guy both offensively and defensively. So 2 games this weekend, 2 goals with an assist, 3 points, 9 shots on net, -2 with a block shot. Again, ECAC defensive player or defenseman of the week. 15 games a season, 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points with 40 shots on net, 6 penalty minutes, -16, and 15 block shots. Honestly, the fact that he's only like just over a dash per game on that fucking Harvard team is again, like there's some guys like dash 24. So.
Norris nominee.
Dude, like he just like lives on the ice. There's like, no, stay out there. He's like, fuck, all right, Jesus Christ. God damn it. He's like a 3 or 4 year college guy, but like so much upside there, like so much upside. So it'll be interesting to see where that plays out. And the more guys that just watching this fucking NHL team right now, the more prospects that you have on the back end that are very good at running a power play, it makes me happy, you know, at least they're coming eventually. So high ceiling kid. Long-term project, same thing like we said with Kyle Masters when they first drafted him, one of my favorite fucking prospects of all time. Although he definitely skipped a few steps this past couple of years just in terms of like the like outline how long it would take for him to be ready. So, but Ryan Healey, great year so far on just God, that Harvard team, dude. Like, oh my God. I feel bad. Like they're getting the shit. They got the shit kicked out of on Friday by Brown, who
fucking nerds.
Their fucking jerseys are football jerseys. They literally like it's home and away. They have like the fucking giant ass fucking numbers on the front, like a fucking football jersey. And I'm like, man, you can't get your ass kicked by that
like these USA World Junior jerseys in Buffalo.
Yeah,
those are gross. I hated them.
Yeah, imagine being the team that gets your fucking ass whooped by those guys. Fucking that
great.
sucks.
Not great.
That sucks. whatever. Either way, Healey, great season so far. Very fun to watch. All right, last college guy. I would say very much forgotten / lost in the full, or Nate Benoit. People probably forgot that they drafted him in the 6th round a couple years ago. He has been getting on and off scratched at North Dakota this year. Obviously, North Dakota, very good team. He is like what I would imagine. I think they're hoping he turns into what they had in Tyler Clevin. Big, fucking mean as shit, very physical, defensive oriented, but like can skate and actually does have like some decent offensive tools. He played in both games this weekend for the first time, I think, since he got there. First game, 5-4 loss in overtime against Omaha, put up an assist, his first point in college hockey. And then game 2, they win 3-1 against Omaha. He's a +1 with another block shot. Only played in 11 games this year with the 1 assist. He's only taken 5 shots on net. And it's a +1 with 4 penalty minutes, 7 block shots. Again, another guy, I think there's enough tools there that are like make him a very like intriguing. Given his situation playing at North Dakota, this is a player that I think will be leaned on much more heavily when he's probably like a junior. We'll see what happens next year as a sophomore, but he's very young. Shout out. He's from Bow, New Hampshire. Love that for me and him. So you know what? He's actually my favorite hockey player in the world. He's a New Hampshire guy. But he looked really good. I actually tuned into the second game. Of course, I missed his fucking assist. But he played like 18, 19 minutes, was hitting everything that fucking moved, and looked great defensively. So nice to see him get on the score sheet, though. Get his first college point. That does it for college hockey.